In this part, I'm going to talk about, in my opinion, why 1099 is not always better. I talked about, for tax purposes, why 1099 is not always better. Now I'm going to talk about overall, in my opinion, why 1099 may not always be better. Again, it's an individual thing. One individual that commented on the video that I talked about earlier, he said, you must be a company driver. like I'm advocating for being a company driver or something. Like I get paid for people deciding to be W-2, right? Which I definitely don't, right? I am an owner operator. I'm 1099. I've been self-employed most of my adult life. And even from that perspective, that's why I feel like it's good. I'm a good person to talk about this because you know that I don't have any biased perspective. I don't care whether you go W-2 or whether you go 1099. I'm just sharing with you from the perspective of somebody that's been 1099 their entire adult life, some things you might want to consider before you look at going 1099, all right? So here's the first thing. When you go 1099, and again, I'm still speaking to the individual that's going to be driving somebody else's truck, not talking to the lease operator here. You're operating in the capacity of owner. Speaking to somebody that's going to be driving somebody else's truck. In my opinion, if you're going to be 1099 driving somebody else's truck, you should get paid more dollar for dollar than the W-2 guy. And the main reason why is because when you go 1099, you are, as driving somebody else's truck, you are saving the company money. When you're W-2, FICA taxes come out of your check and your employer pays half. So whatever you're paying in FICA taxes, your employer is paying the other half of those FICA taxes as a W-2 employee. But when you're 1099 and you're self-employed, you're paying 100% of those same taxes, which are then referred to as self-employment taxes. It's 15% of your net profit typically, okay? So just to make it short and sweet and clear, the reason that I would say when you're 1099 driving somebody else's truck, you should literally get paid more dollar for dollar is because you're saving the company their portion of your employee FICA taxes if you were an employee. And if you're saving the company that money, they should absolutely be willing to pass on. So not only is it easier for them, they don't have to worry about the payroll taxes or any of that stuff. It's easier for them as far as paperwork because all they got to do is send you a 1099 at the end of the year for how much they paid you. It's physically easier on them, but it also saves them money. And because of that, if you're going to elect to go 1099 driving somebody else's truck, that, in my opinion, you absolutely could argue, say, okay, well, I'm going to go 1099. Like, I'm not saying that you should try to bully more money out of the company because of that. I'm just saying that's something to consider. If you're going to be working with a company, you're going to be driving somebody else's truck, and they're like, hey, you want to be W-2 or 1099? I said in the video that I showed earlier, you should ask them, what is the benefit of being 1099 under them? Like, the benefit of being W-2. You've been a W-2 employee your whole life. But you should ask them, what are the benefits of being 1099? There were a lot of people that commented, man, why would you ask the company? They're not entitled to tell you the benefit of how you should file your taxes. They're basically people saying that you shouldn't ask a company if they give you the opportunity to go either way. You shouldn't ask them. And in my opinion, nothing is further from the truth. But yeah, you should, if they're giving you the option, you should absolutely ask them, what's the benefit of being 1099? Like I said, there were people that were commenting on that video that were like, nah, you shouldn't ask that. Okay. Like I said, if you're deciding between whether to be company W-2 or 1099 lease operator, yeah, you shouldn't ask that question. What's the benefit? You should know that already. But keep in mind, we're talking about people that's going to be driving somebody else's truck. So you're going to be driving somebody else's truck. You're in that situation where it's a small owner operator. He got 2, 3, 4 trucks, and they give you the option of going W-2 versus 1099. You should absolutely ask them what's the benefit of being 1099. Right then, they may give you some benefit. There was a guy that commented under that same video that said, and this is crucial, like, the benefit of me being 1099 under my dad was my dad allowed me to be able to buy the truck for a real good price at the end of our arrangement. For another guy that I have right here, he says the guy I did a 1099 with gave me the deductions on that truck at the end of the year. So what am I saying? If you follow the advice of some of the people that commented on that initial video, man, don't ask them. You shouldn't do that. What if the company that's giving you the option to go 1099 or W-2 knows that if you go 1099 under them, you're saving them money and you're making it easier? What if they know that, and they know that to find a good driver might bring that up in the interview? What if they're expecting that? It's, I mean, look, we don't want any old kind of BS driver. We want a good driver. And we know that if a driver elects to take 1099, he's actually helping us out. So, we may be willing to give you the ability to buy the truck at a real cheap price in a year or two, like my dad did. Or we might be willing to give you, like this guy did, the ability to be able to use the truck, to write off the truck, to use the deductions for the truck. Like I don't know what kind of arrangement that they had, but what I'm saying is if you don't ask the company that, if you just say, all right, I'll just go 1099 and you don't ask, they may be willing to give you some concessions. They may be willing to offer you something if you're willing to go 1099 and help them out. But if you don't give them an opportunity to tell you, it's like, shoot, he took the first offer. We were prepared to give him something, but he didn't ask. So what I'm saying is, forget what these people in the comments are saying. If a company give you the opportunity to go either one, don't ask them. You should absolutely ask them and give them the opportunity right then to say, yeah, well, under 1099, we give you this or we give you that. Now they may say, look, ain't no difference. It's just up to you. It's the same thing either way. I'm just saying, give them the opportunity to tell you something, because it may be willing to offer you some benefit being 1099 that they may not offer you being W-2. And that might just depends on your own personal situation. You're looking to buy a truck in a few years or two. This company says, hey, you go 1099 under us in a year, we'll give you the option to buy this truck at dirt cheap. It might be in your best interest to go 1099. I'm just saying, you want to ask that question. Okay, you definitely want to ask that question. So you are saving the company money and effort when you elect to go 1099. In my opinion, you should get paid more. If they're paying you the exact same thing, dollar for dollar, 1099 and W-2, you ain't doing nothing but helping them out. Okay, and unless you got a special circumstance or situation, just like I said in the video, you may want to elect to go W-2. All right. I also said in the video, I mentioned about ducking garnishment, and some people commented under the video, yeah, man, he just told the people how to duck child support or how to be a deadbeat in trucking. And I was ducking garnishment. Again, I spoke on that from firsthand experience, but I won't duck in child support garnishment. I was ducking garnishment from the IRS. I don't think that makes me a deadbeat, though. The point that I'm making is a lot of people, that as soon as they heard that word garnishment, they thought about child support. There might be a bunch of different reasons why you might be facing some sort of garnishment that you don't want to deal with. And you say, well, I'll just go 1099. People can't garnish your check when you go 1099 like they can W-2. So you say, man, shoot, I can't afford to be W-2 and only get 40% of my check. Can't afford to do that. So I'll go 1099, so I don't have to worry about the garnishment. And once I get that straight, then I'll go back W-2 or whatever. But there's a bunch of different reasons why 1099 may not always be better. So you are making it easier on the company when you elect to go 1099. This is in a similar situation to mine, where you got the employer is one or two or three or four trucks. Like, let them know that that you're helping them out by you being 1099. And again, they may be willing to offer you some sort of concession for going that way. Another thing to consider when you're deciding whether to be 1099 or W-2, this kind of revolves around how you're going to be getting paid. Now, I got jotted down on my notes right here. You're not going to be getting paid for your time. And here's what I mean by that, because you can be W-2 and not get paid for your time as well. I've been a W-2 driver of a straight truck before, and I wasn't getting paid for my time. I was getting paid by the load. As an owner, I don't sweat not getting paid for my time, because I know that that's part of the deal. But driving somebody else's truck, when I was driving somebody else's truck and I was waiting, and I only got paid a percentage of what the truck did, which is, might be the same way that you get paid. You get paid a percentage of what the truck does, and you're driving somebody else's truck, or you get paid by the load and you're driving somebody else's truck. You fall into the category of not necessarily, unless the company got some other type of way of compensating you for all the stuff that you got to do to transport freight in a day that doesn't involve miles or dropping the load. There's a lot of stuff that you got to do that takes time, but it may not involve dropping the load or actually doing miles. So whenever you're waiting at a dock or waiting at a shipper or a receiver, when I was in that situation, 1099 driving my dad's truck, I was like, man, this is crazy, because I'm not getting paid for my time. And I used to remember feeling a lot. It kind of felt like I was in a void in the middle. I was in the worst of both positions. So as an owner right now, I don't sweat not getting paid for my time, because I get paid as the owner for that. As an employee, especially if you're an hourly paid employee, you're getting paid for your time. And there's a lot of protections that you get as a W-2 employee. So there's benefits to being W-2, and there's benefits to being owner. But I was right in the middle as 1099 driving somebody else's truck. I wasn't getting the benefits of being a full-fledged employee because I wasn't one. And I also wasn't getting the benefits of being the owner. I kind of fell right in that middle gap. So, if you're in this position of driving somebody else's truck and you got the option of, being W-2 or 1099, depending on how you get paid, you really may feel if you end up being 1099 and you're getting paid by the load or by the percentage, it's like, man, it's a lot of time that I'm spending that I'm not getting paid for. So you might want to consider asking about that when you're dealing with the company specifically. The things that have to be done that don't involve the dropping of a load, because that's what you get paid for if you're getting paid by the load, or the miles, because that's what you're getting paid for if you're getting paid by the mile, right? Either way, either one of those is a lot of stuff involving time that you might not be getting paid for. So when I was in that position, like I said, it felt like I was, kind of getting the worst of both worlds. All right. So consider that. Another thing, before you go 1099 to consider, I kind of already talked about this in the earlier segment, is that it's more difficult to get loans. And the reason it's more difficult to get loans is a fact of the matter. You are considered to be less stable as a 1099. Period. In the story. Bottom line. Okay. And again, if you fall into the category of taking a bunch of write-offs, now you don't have much taxable income. You may making it difficult to be able to show that you can afford the thing that you're trying to buy. All of that stuff makes it difficult, especially considering you're driving someone else's truck. You're not getting paid as the owner. You're not necessarily getting paid for your time. You ain't getting paid vacations and all that stuff that a W-2 person would be getting. You're not paying much in taxes, but you're having a hard time getting approved stuff. There's a lot of stuff to deal with. Again, this is stuff you need to consider when you're electing to be one or the other. And then the hassle of record keeping. If you're gonna be getting approved for loans, if you're gonna be getting approved for mortgages and stuff like that, the right way as a self-employed individual, you're gonna have to be really diligent as far as your record keeping. And some people don't want to deal with that. Some people really just don't want to deal with that, and I get it. Okay. And again, this is coming from the perspective that is from somebody that is elected to do this for the last 30 years. So while I wouldn't have it any other way, I gotta let you know that it ain't all, you know what I mean? Like it's a pro and a con side to it. You have to know that.